Op die naweek van 31 Oktober kies die DA sy nuwe federale leier. Mbali Ntuli, 'n dinamiese jong DA-politikus van KwaZulu-Natal, ding met die tussentydse leier John Steenhuisen mee vir die topposisie. Mbali, welcome to the show.
Dankie Valdemar, dit is 'n voorreg om hier te julle te wees.
Dis heerlik om jou te hê. Why should South Africans who are looking forward to an election next year vote for the DA?
I think that the Democratic Alliance still presents the best alternative to the government that we have. We've obviously had some missteps in the last couple of years that I myself have been quite vocal about within my party. But I think in terms of governance and in terms of having enough people that are able to take this country forward, we currently present the best party in that regard. But I do think that we have a lot of work to do as a Democratic Alliance, and that's why I'm running for leader. I think that internally and externally, we really haven't been able to capture the imagination, because there is absolutely no way that with the 9 years that we had on our former president, that the DA has not been able to capture the imagination of South Africans and to get them to understand where we stand. And that's why I think we need new leadership in the DA, because I think that the way that we've been campaigning, the way that we've been talking about issues, the status quo essentially of our establishment is not working and isn't resonating with people in South Africa of any persuasion. And I think that this is a broader discussion than just the Democratic Alliance. I think we need political disruption in our entire political discourse.
So if you are to become a disruptor inside the DA to take the party forward, what do you want to disrupt? What needs to change?
We need to change our internal culture, the way that we communicate internally with ourselves. But more importantly, because this is about South Africa, we really need to show South Africans that they can trust us, that we care. And when I speak about South Africans, I speak about all South Africans, because we lost votes across the board in 2019, because we had policy confusion, because we seemed to have leaders that weren't sure of what they were trying to tell the electorate. And quite frankly, because we haven't authentically been able to communicate in a caring and empathetic way what we mean. And I think it's because we use such high jargon. I think we speak above people. And I think that you need a leader that's going to have understood the realities of what South Africans have gone through, all South Africans, and is going to be able to convey the message that we are with them and we understand and we want to fix this mess that we are in at the moment.
So we come, as the DA acknowledges, from a past of immense racial discrimination. And you've said in articles online that the non-racial society which some people strive towards is a utopia that doesn't exist. It's not currently people's lived experience. But do you share the ideal of many of your fellow party members to achieve this non-racial South Africa at some point in the future?
I think all South Africans want that. Given the past that we've had, every single South African should want a non-racial future in the future. But that isn't where we are now, and it isn't, I think, particularly wise for a party to campaign and to strategically talk to South Africans only about where philosophically we want to be. You have to talk to people where they are right now, and you have to offer solutions. And nobody believes, with race being so ubiquitous in our society, that we can just throw it away as something that is a lived reality for many people. That doesn't mean that you're a racist. It doesn't mean that you're illiberal. It means that you understand that people who are standing 7 hours in a queue to get some health care, or people whose children are falling in pit latrines, or people who are unable to access NSFAS, don't believe that in the situation because life is hard. They believe that in that situation because they're black and because of the history of our party or our country.
NSFAS is an interesting example, because NSFAS is awarded not on the basis of race, but purely on a needs basis. Now, your party has been very vocal, Mbali, as a critic of BEE, or the way it's been implemented, and even affirmative action. Do you believe, going forward, to create the society that you think we want, there should be more or less of BEE and affirmative action?
I think BEE has failed, and I think that anyone who has been watching what's been happening in the last few weeks, even with the Hawks and the NPA, can tell that BEE has completely failed in what it was supposed to achieve according to the ANC and big business at that time. That's not what we have to look at, and we can't also narrow it down to just being solely about employment. When we talk about trying to stop the racial inequality we speak about in our country, as leader, I've said that we should have a stakeholder economy that looks at things like spatial planning. Why can't we incentivize businesses to go into creating economic zones in rural areas where there is no economy, where you would then be obviously uplifting people that have been left out of the economy, predominantly people that are black, but anyone would be able to be caught up in that particular empowerment. Why don't we speak about the fact that we should be talking about people that are left out whether because they are physically not disabled, because they are not heterosexual, who have been disadvantaged in the past. Those are the kinds of ways that we should be looking far broadly than just about affirmative action and BEE, because that narrows down the arguments in South Africa, where it has to be so much broader, because we have to have a holistic approach to how we want to change the racial inequality and just general inequality. Because as somebody in my generation, more and more what I'm seeing is that even white people who would previously not be considered disadvantaged are going to fall in those categories because our country is not having the kind of economic prosperity that brings everyone up.
Okay, but so at the policy conference, the vote went overwhelmingly in favour of the policies as adopted, and you've urged the party to subject those same policies to the elective conference at the end of October. There was a move away from race-based redress towards more non-racial mechanisms. What is your concern about those mechanisms that do not differ substantively from, for example, the way SASSA grants are paid out, which is also colourblind?
So, first of all, we didn't actually discuss race as a proxy for disadvantage at our policy conference. We just adopted the principle of non-racialism, which I say everyone would want to be. But if we are so convinced as that as a party, we must take it to the elective conference and not allow 200 people to make a decision for 2,000 people. And I say this as leader purely because I know what it feels like to be an ordinary member of the party who has top people making decisions and isn't able to contribute. Nothing may change, and that's fine. But let people come with you along on this journey, which is not what I believed had happened when we didn't want to table those policies.
Now, these are important issues, Mbali, and you called for a live TV debate with John Steenhuisen a couple of months ago. Why is that not happening?
Our party took a decision that they believed that it would be better for us to have internal debates. Obviously, I can't now speak against the party's decision, but I will speak on my personal opinion and why I had asked for the debate. And I think it's imperative that South Africans get into a culture of understanding what their leaders are actually offering, what their policy views are, and where they want to take South Africa. And for me, as a leader, I think it speaks so much more highly of you if you're able to articulate why you want people to believe in the vision, why you want people to come along with you in the particular way that you want the country to live. And I'm not thinking that anyone who is running for this leadership is just thinking about the DA. This is so much bigger than that. You would be literally the leader of the second biggest party and potentially the future president if you can actually take the ANC below 50%. And so do you not want South Africans to know where the party stands? Is this not a great stage to be able to articulate the views of the party and to show the political culture that we actually want to inculcate in South African society?
Do you think you'll stay if you lose?
Of course I'm going to stay. But I always find that that question is asked in a manner of trying to get somebody to sort of pigeonhole themselves. And I say that because people should be dedicated to a cause, not always a party. And we see this with our governing party. There are so many people that are so much better that should be out, that should be doing other things, and are beholden to the party before they're beholden to South Africa. I'm beholden to South Africa, and if there's ever a chance, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen, that the DA turns away from some of the values that I think South Africa needs, then I and any other member should feel very well within their rights to be able to take another direction. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to leave because I lose. I think failure is a part of running for leadership. And I'm very happy to stay and to try and contribute. I think what I've done has been something new for the party, and I'm excited that even if I don't win, I can already see the changes of more young people that are running for election.
Dankie dat jy die uitnodiging aanvaar het om vanaand hier te wees, Mbali.